Well, I am so grateful to God. I am so grateful to Father Toby, to our parish staff for the foresight to look at the potential and possibility of us moving our patronal feast to this weekend, since today is actually the feast day of St. Margaret Mary. We read up and found out that it is our right to place it in place of our normal Sunday celebration, so that all together we could come to our Masses, the Vigil on Saturday, the Masses on Sunday morning, in honor of our patroness. Also, in honor of her, we went ahead and had a very special visitor to the school on Friday morning. It was my privilege to walk around to all the classrooms with St. Margaret Mary. She'll be here tonight to have a piece of cake with us, tomorrow after the 7:30 and the 9 to have a donut, and after the 11 to have a cookie. Now, I got to tell you, Jesus said, "I give praise to you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, for although you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, you have revealed them to the childlike." You might guess there was a difference when I walked in to the kindergartners' rooms with a rap on the door, Vice Principal saying, "Boys and girls, we have a very special visitor." And I came in. I'm special, but not very special. And I went a little further and I said, "Boys and girls, we have a very special visitor today, and in a habit that looks very much like St. Margaret Mary's." There she stood. Their eyes got so wide, and they kept looking at her and then over at me, wondering, who is this visitor? And I was explaining some things, but they just kept looking over and over. You might imagine when I went into the 8th grade classroom. That's exactly how I started. I said, I was downstairs a little bit earlier, and I walked into the kindergartners, and I said, "Boys and girls, we have a very special guest." And they kept looking at her, and they kept looking at me, and they were awestruck. I said, "You're a little older, and probably by the world standpoint, a little wiser. You know that this is a very good costume of a 17th century habit, and this actress is here to give us the presence on this side of the resurrection of what it would be for our patroness to take space in your classroom, to stand where your teacher or I stand." The message, though, was the same, whether they were a kindergartner, an 8th grader, or a parishioner. I said, "What does it mean to be a patroness? What does it mean to have a patron?" It can be boiled down to two very important things. Number one, naming, just like our second reading. The apostle tells us that he stands before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth is named. We're named for him, Christians. We're named for him, Christians. I said to the kids, it's kind of fun, in 4th grade class, I said, "No, boys and girls, when your mom and dad, when you guys were at the hospital, before you could come home, what did they have to give you?" One little boy raised his hand like this. I said, "Yes." He said, "A shot." I said, "You're absolutely right. You needed a shot before they could send you home. But you needed a name. You needed a name." And oftentimes, we're named in honor of someone whom our parents respect and love. I told him, boys and girls, I was named for my uncle, who was a priest. Because my father and mother respected him and loved him and honored him by naming me after him. I said, boys and girls, 102 years ago, the Bishop of Omaha honored our community by naming us after St. Margaret Mary, because he respected her and her contribution to the universal church. That's the naming part. And then I said, and what do we get from you for that? And I pointed to St. Margaret Mary. And she looked at the children and she said, I stand before the throne of God every day, invoking his blessings upon you, because your bishop entrusted you to me. That's my message. Saint Margaret Mary is alive. She lives in the eternal presence of God before his sacred heart. And just as she lived from the age of 24 on to 43, standing before the presence of the Blessed Sacrament, Christ before her, body, soul, and divinity. And at the age of 27, he honored her by standing before her physically, bearing his sacred heart, which burns for love of us. She stands there now. And through her patronage to us, intercedes that we might find in him our hope and our salvation. Amen.